Welcome to the Conditional Release Program, a podcast that delves into the netherworld of cults, crims, and con artists. We don't like these people and it shows. We believe the best way to expose them is to hold them up to a harsh light, point our index fingers in their general direction, and mock them mercilessly, take them down a peg or two until they cease to exist in any other form than the shit on our shoes. I'm Jack the Insider, otherwise known as Peter Hoisted for tax purposes.
And I'm Joel Hill, and this week we are looking at some of the biggest clowns in the country. These are the people that they're around the world, really, and they really made 2020 just pop out. It made this year just the fucking stain on history that it is. This is this giant gumbo pot of lunatics that make the anti-lockdown protesters.
Anti-lockdown protesters, yes. These are some of the worst people in living memory. You have libertarians, SovCits, anti-vaxxers, anti-5G, anti-fucking everything, all rolled into one. A melange of fucking shitbag crazy. And we'd like to get to them sharpish, but we can't right now because we have to do this. The Conditional Release Program's Weekly News. It's a big, beautiful world out there, but before it glows orange and bursts into flame, what particular feral cats clambered out of the wilderness and crawled up your ass this week, Joel?
Oh, Q is back. Stop the fucking clock, boys. The prophet has returned.
Yes, very, very exciting. After a long absence in a time where a lot of people were just a little bit keen to know what he's up to, the big Q, the number 17, has come back and given us something to think about. Not much, though. It's fucking piss poor. A YouTube clip of Trump with "We're not going to take it" by Twisted Sister in the background. Pinched it just like Fat Clive Palmer did.
Yeah, it stinks of Clive. This is a bit of a thing that goes back a while. Twisted Sister and Trump have already had a few issues in the past. Dee Snider, who fronts the band, has already told Trump to stop using the fucking track and to generally just fuck off.
Yes.
They apparently know each other from Celebrity Apprentice. I mean, that's secondhand information. I don't watch that shit. But I'm not sure whether this actually added to the friction, whether they have a bit of a backstory.
I would think it would have added.
But, I mean, like, realistically, it's quite a high chance. Snyder just wants nothing to fucking do with, like, the house fire that is Trump, you know?
Yeah, I think that's probably it. But either way, it looks like a real shit post, and it's got the Q troops both elated and devastated, depending on how pilled they are. And some people are really looking into it and trying to make some meaning out of it, while others are utterly pissed off. They've joined the cult, and after a few weeks in hiding, this is all they get.
Yeah, I would actually be pretty pissed off as well, to be honest. Yeah. I mean, many have said that Ron and Jim Watkins, the dirty duo, father and son, who control the Q account and run 8kun, they are behind, Q posts. They control the account. They're basically Q. Let's face it. At this point, it's looking pretty likely because Ron's been very busy. He's this media darling of OANN, masquerading as this large systems analyst. He knows how to run a forum, and he's LARPing as someone with this like remote kind of relevance in public. So he's been too busy to post. And this kind of low energy, sad ass post looks like Ron said, "Look, Jim, please put one in for me." And this is just like it's showing the death throes of a LARP that's just served its time. Its Q's done.
And in other news, Joel, Rudy Giuliani has been diagnosed with the Rona. Bad day.
Yes, he has. He has, finally. I mean, it's about bloody time, really. Trump's chief legal clown has managed to get a bit of a cough and taken himself off to hospital. And, of course, this is after spending several hours in a bullshit theatrical hearing, of which he was almost certainly contagious for. My main concerns, of course, lie with the wonderful Melissa Carone, who has done nothing wrong except for being like a lying arsehole.
Might have perjured herself a couple of times, but anyway.
Yeah, what's a lie between friends? But now that she's been publicly dragged as a drunken fool, she's now going to wind up with this possibly quite large hospital bill after spending too much time with the fucking smiley mayor of America.
Rudy's been tapping her on the arm and just doing all sorts of intimate
with
things.
His COVID-covered fingers. So, like, this guy, he's on $20,000 a day. But what is the bet? He's not putting any of that aside for her hospital bills. I mean, Jenna Ellis, the other lawyer, who's probably on something similar, she got the Rona as well. And some are quite rightly speculating it's from the farts that Rudy was making quite audibly in the recent hearing she was in.
They're big and they're toxic, Rudy's farts. You can see the microbes in them. They're actually walking upright.
Yes, that's it. Yes, they formed their own communities and now have their own democracies that actually work, unlike the American one. Now, I wish her a speedy recovery. I wish them all a speedy recovery.
Sure.
And this is not the kind of speedy recovery that Q commentators went fucking ballistic about when everyone started wishing Trump a speedy recovery, who were completely convinced it was a deep state signal to set Trump off and, and pull the rug from underneath him and kill him.
On him. Yeah.
It's actually a speedy recovery and a few days in bed and hopefully not coming down with one of those notorious lingering coughs that happens to a vast portion of people who get coronavirus and do not add to the death count. Just fucking say. Just say. It's coronavirus.
It's just a few days in bed. Look, big question for me, Joel. If Rudy became delirious with fever, how would we know? How would we know if he had flipped with a temp of 104 degrees and been driven insane, which for Rudy is a quick trip around the block at best?
Yeah, see, this makes a lot of sense because one of the things that's really good about Rudy as a patient is that he's used to having things stuck up his ass. So when they put the thermometer in there, he's not even going to notice. That's quite small for his basis. So realistically, his case was a mild one. And all jokes aside, he still went to hospital for it. So it can't be that fucking mild. But I think personally, he just needed a week off. I mean, bullshitting people is thirsty work. And he probably spent a fair bit of time just, sitting back, smashing a few Corones, which is a new cocktail that he's made up. Yeah. Basically, you just take a shot of everything you can find in the liquor cabinet, chug it down, take a sharp huff of glue and hairspray in a brown paper bag, and I tell you what, at that point, if you got coronavirus, it's probably going to come off second best to the Corona.
Well, speaking of taking a lot of fluids, this week the first vaccine rolled out for non-clinical trials. So it's the very first patient.
Yep, there's a lot of fluid there. Yeah, the world is actually quite watching, with a bit of bated breath, short of breath because of coronavirus, to see if Margaret Keenan, 90, of Coventry in England, immediately dies from the shot, or, her eyes slip back into her head and she starts selling Microsoft products.
I really wanted old Mark Keenan. I thought she might have a sense of humour and just grab her heart the moment the needle went in and fall over, faking death. The moment after she got her shot, just for shits and giggles. But she played it straight, bless her.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it would have been pretty funny. But, look, it is actually a really risky move, giving the first shot to someone who is statistically on death's door. But so far, so good. Margie's held her own and she's been a bloody trooper. She's been really cool about it. Of course, the usual fuckwits, celebrity chef, are clearly praying that she just dies in the next week. And this is, of course, to prove their non-existent point that their baseless suspicions the vaccine's going to kill you is probably just sort of harmless and fine and just, makes you immune to fucking coronavirus.
Well, second cab off the rank and the first male to receive the vaccine was William Shakespeare, and like the bard, was also from Warwickshire. Ooh. The 81-year-old unleashed a torrent of puns in the media of the taming of the flu type, making the rest of the world very, very sick indeed. But he did it. And if he can do it, so can you. And if he can do it, so can I. Fuck the anti-vaxxers, Joel.
That's it. Amen. Anti-vaxxers are kicking and screaming about these immediate effects of infertility and death from the shot. And they are, as usual, based on fucking nothing. But they are yelling from the rooftops right now because this is their moment. It's the climax of their journey. And we can be assured that from here on in, any health issues we see in any way, shape or form are going to be due to the vaccine. I'm looking forward to getting the shot, not because I want to be immune from COVID-19.
The vaccine did it.
Exactly. I want things to go back to normal so I can blame every shortcoming I have in life on the vaccine. I trip over, spray my ankle, fucking vaccine. Bruise, fucking vaccine. Oh, not as much money. Oh, mate, I've been sick with the vaccine. I would have made a fortune.
Your teenage son goes out and gets his hair dyed green. Vaccine did that.
100%. It is going to be the scapegoat for everything into the future. And honestly, I think I've been held personally accountable for my actions for way too long. This vaccine's a fucking godsend. Bring it on. Shoot me up and take away all of our responsibilities.
I'm queuing up as well, Joel. I can't wait. Now, in other more somber news, the New Zealand Royal Commission into the Christchurch attacks of March 2019 released its report this week. They did not name the individual. They named him once only in the executive summary, which is exactly the right way to go.
Fucking.
And with many hours of interviews with him, as well as hours of interviews with hundreds of others, including survivors, we got a bit of an insight into what took place there with the incident, the attack on the two mosques that left 51 dead and 40 injured.
Fucking awful.
And while the individual, the perpetrator, was dabbling in far right politics, he had made up to 30 comments on the United Patriots Front Facebook page. He seemed to have a bit of a boner for Blair Cottrell as well. But
he's so dreamy.
The Royal Commission has reported that he was essentially radicalised online, and most of it came from YouTube. He was a big believer in the Great Replacement theory, and there are a great many YouTube videos still available from people like Stefan Molyneux and Lawrence Southern, who popped their head up on Sky News in each country.
Two of the finest. Yeah, it's a bloody tragedy, because these are the sort of things you really look at. These are real people that have had their lives taken so needlessly. And when you look at the way with big tech, you don't need to censor people to stop people from being radicalized. Taking down the Great Replacement theory videos is not censorship. That's just common sense.
These things are often clouded by free speech arguments, and I maintain that's not the issue for Facebook or any big tech, YouTube, which is wholly owned by Google, of course. It's an issue of curation. They just don't want to put the bums on seats to sort it out.
No, and they make money from the
won't
clicks
until there's an enormous amount of pressure. Now, YouTube has pulled some videos down, but they've still got a long way to go. Yeah,
and they won't until they're forced. And of course, with libertarian America the way it is, and the way it's probably going to continue to be, their hand will never be forced. There's too much of this First Amendment shit in the air.
Well, from us anyway, Joel, we'd just like to say, put your heads in at YouTube and stop forming utter cunts who have blood on their hands. And we'd like to kick big tech a bit harder. I'm on my feet right now and ready to sink the slipper, but I have to hold back because now it's time to have a look at a dark group of tryhards and fakers who need a good kicking too. And we're going to do that now in our deeper dive.
So the general consensus on 2020 is that it has been a little bit shit.
Not a great year, no.
We've seen COVID-19 rock the planet, and while we did dodge a lot of the bullets in Australia, the rest of the world has taken a kick to the nuts.
Ouch, yes.
I do feel for Victoria. They suffered a fairly protracted lockdown, one of the biggest in the
100
world.
100 days, yes, 100 days. I think 101 or 2 days.
Yeah, something like that. You know, what's a couple of days in lockdown between friends and Chairman Dan, huh? But the arts have really suffered. Theatres are coming back into play now, but people have been out of work for a long time. There's been a lot of things. Border closures have torn families apart over the year, and especially those who have been stranded overseas. This is not to say that COVID has not had an adverse impact on people's lives at all.
Yes, we still do have some 30-odd thousand Australians waiting to get home. And meanwhile, Tony Abbott and Lexi Downer and they've been all over the shop. And our former finance minister, well, he's getting paid to sit on a jet that we own.
Red fucking carpet. So obviously there are issues, but the thing is the main problem has been that people couldn't get a skewy at the pub.
Well, that was hard, to be honest.
It was annoying, but I mean, I'm not having a fucking rally about it. And the thing is, now the pubs have reopened, they make you sit down.
Oh, God.
Oh
Look, that's been unpleasant too. But yes, I'm not going to hit the streets over it. I'm not going to go to the barricades over having to sit down rather than stand at the bar.
Exactly, because the thing is, Australia have been the sorest winners this year.
Yeah.
Because people think we're this amazing country that beat coronavirus, and we did. But if the fucking plague rats had their way, we would be up to our ears in the bug.
Oh, yeah.
Just as a fucking side note, I am so ready for this episode because I have spent all day today and several days in the car running around listening to fucking Fanos and Craig Cole interviews. And honestly, these are malevolent actors at best. These people are bad for society. The shit they come up with.
I can tell you're angry, Joel. I can tell you're angry. You got to vent. Keep going.
And now, while it's childish to say, I told you so, I want to preface this episode with a giant I fucking told you so. Just stay at home, you cunts. And when things are a bit spicy, wear a mask to the shops. Look how well we've done. Shit is getting back to normal. The fucking carry-on around this has been astounding. And yet, Here we are. Stadiums are at full capacity now. Pubs are back to normal. Yes, you have to check in with a QR code. You're technically illiterate. Fuck. Get over it. Nobody wants to track you. You are inconsequential. How many times do you have to fucking say this?
I think you're sort of getting right in deep into them there when you talk about inconsequential human beings. But why are they still protesting, Joel? I mean, basically lockdown's been lifted. You can go and watch the cricket. You can pretty much do whatever you want to do. You go and see a band. You can do whatever you like. Almost.
Exactly. Shit's gone back to normal because the fucking lockdowns worked. So, these assholes had a bunch of protests last week, 5th of December in Melbourne and Cairns, Adelaide, and wherever the fuck else. And these are places that are phasing out the COVID restrictions. Things are going back to normal. It's nothing to do with your protest. It's just the fact that we never wanted these things to be permanent. And these people are almost like kicking and screaming as they get sort of dragged back into freedom because their hobby cause is dying in front of them. Do they just want to cling to relevance? Because that's what I'm feeling here. Because otherwise, it just seems like this is their thing now. How can they go back to life being boring nobodies with no mates?
That's right. So at least when they could all get together online and a bit of a chat and start talking about Nazi Germany rearing its ugly head in Australia.
Yeah, fuck about Dan Andrews.
Yeah. And
they had purpose.
And all sorts of horror shows about going to basically disarm the police and all this sort of nonsense. It gave them some sense of meaning and some sense of social contact that they don't otherwise have.
And they probably won't because, tell you what, any of their normie mates that used to call them up for a beer on the weekend have probably taken them out of their fucking contacts. Let's face it.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't know if they're getting bloody invited back to Christmas this year.
No.
But
probably
essentially, what we're seeing here is we're seeing a shift of the spectrum. These guys are going to have to basically create a whole bunch of new threats to our freedom and throw them into the public and see if they can get, cling on to this relevance. There's going to be Bill Gates vaccine hysteria. There's going to be Agenda 21 and the Great Reset. And basically, they're just going to sneak the word Marxism into anything that sounds cool. The thing that, and to their credit, these guys, they walk the talk. They are all about small business. And the Gosleme trucks that have probably been cleaning the fuck up.
Gosleme trucks, they've been on fire around these rallies. God bless them.
This is the stimulus package they need. It's perfect. But the thing is that these guys also have to deal with these fucking wankers trying to pay for their Gosleme and Bitcoin and fucking gold shards.
That's got to be confusing. That's got to be confusing. You're running a Gosleme truck. That's not what you want to see. Anyway, Joel, who are these anti-lockdowners? Who are the key anti-lockdowners? And let's heap shit on a few of them. Who is this all-star cast of fuckwits and lunatics?
Well, there's quite a few good ones, but we're going to fix on the real head stars because, we're not here for hours, we're here for minutes. So, Fanos Panayides.
Fanos.
He's great. I know you like Fanos. You respect his intellectual vigor.
Yeah. Look, look, poor old Fanos. I reckon he's got an IQ around about 63. I've actually got a toaster oven that's smarter than Fanos Panayides because it's got a clock in it.
Yes,
it's a bit smarter than Fanos. But he is the archetype. I reckon here he is the one who's saying, all I want out of this is a bit of fame. Yeah, he had a crack at it before the pandemic, didn't he? He was on that horrible show on Channel 7, Family Food Fight or something.
Yeah, came third to his credit. I mean, I can't see the guy as being a good chef, but, he fooled someone.
It must be said, the series didn't last long, and probably Fanos had a fair bit to do with that. The ratings dropped off the moment Fanos turned up, and basically Channel 7 looked at it and went, let's get rid of this shit show at once. And that was the end of Fanos's tilted fame, Mark 1.
And this experience of television made him so cranky that he decided to convince everyone to smash their television. This was his real start of fame. This was the beginning of the end of the beginning of Fanos, where he did his little, television, more like tell-a-vision. It tells you what to do. It tells you what to eat. Honestly, the thing is that because he's talking to gullible fucks, these are probably the people that marketing is tailored for. So I do feel the fact that these guys should smash their televisions, because when we look at ads for Kmart, we see annoying kids and dumb background music. These fuckers probably actually do start thinking, you know what? maybe I could do with a Nerf gun.
Well,
so credit.
It just seems a really impressive way to make a point. I'm going to smash some of my own property and film it and then pop it up there saying, we're doing this for Fanos, who's dirty on Channel 7 for scrapping family food fight.
Yep, and he's really funny because he rallied his people, his followers, to do it, and then when some of them didn't do it, or there was a sort of thing, he'd do these videos getting all pissed off. It's like, "Whoa, I fucking smashed my TV. Why can't you smash your fucking TV, bro?"
And it would have been the one sitting in the garage there that blown a tube or something.
Yeah, collecting dust.
Grand to fix it. So he's just hit it with a hammer. God love him, Fanos.
100%.
He got a background in the security industry. I think
yes.
I love a little euphemism, by the way. He's a bouncer.
Yes, he is. He's a bouncer, and that's probably one of the interesting things. I mean, this is a man who is very much fixated on a cashless society. So I mean, maybe you got a few cashies, and he got used to it, and now he finds it difficult to give up on them. Who knows? But I mean,
well, if you ask me, it's not a money thing for Fanos. I really honestly believe that Fanos is doing this to say, I really don't care about the money. I just want to be famous. I want to see my face on telly again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's what he's all about. Now, here's Craig Cole. Tell me a little bit about Craig Cole.
Craig Cole has one headshot. He has one headshot that just says, "I'm in a rebel motorcycle outfit." I mean, the guy just looks like a bikie. He looks quite terrifying. I look into his eyes and I just I hope he never listens to this, because seeing him in a car park just charging toward me with a fucking, a fold up chair to hit me over the head with it is terrifying, because it turns out he's a fucking pro wrestler, isn't he?
The pro wrestler, Craig the Pitbull Cole. That was what his name, and it's very, very apt, his wrestling name, because he looks like he's got a pair of molly grips for a head. Yes. He calls himself a light worker.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he calls himself a light worker and a freedom educator. This is
dear.
He's doing the cosmic consciousness thing at Uluru soon. I don't know what the deal is. I looked at the speaker list. Most of us just piss sweet grifters and nobodies. There is a friend of mine on there actually, and I love him dearly. So it's a bit conflicting for me. It's hard. It's hard because Craig Cole is not. I personally believe that Craig Cole is not a good force in this world. Now, here's a guy who calls himself a light worker, calls himself a freedom educator, but as Tom Tanuki's brilliant video pointed out, he and also maybe he was the guy that took down Egg Boy, but he was an active supporter of Fraser Anning when Fraser Anning came out in basic support of the Christchurch shooter, saying it was the Muslims' fault for basically existing.
Yeah, you got a couple of neurons missing when you sit down and think, look, Fraser Anning, he's he's basically coming out endorsing the Christchart shooter. Why wouldn't I want to go and associate myself with him?
I mean,
and that's what Craig the Pitbull's done.
And I can't let that rest. So look, and also the thing that
there will never be any excuse for that. Let's move on to Avi Yemini.
The angry dwarf,
the Israeli-Australian.
The Australian.
Yes. He got a conviction for assaulting his, I think, fiancée. I don't think they were married, but and she. I've read her victim impact statement, which is really compelling. He was a very controlling, horrible man.
Yep, that doesn't surprise me at all.
And he got done for it. So, Avi, don't you ever forget, son. You are a convict. You are a convicted criminal.
You hit women with chopping blocks. We will remind you of this at every opportunity. One of the great things that a bunch of lefties have been doing, and I mean, agitating these guys is not exactly something I put on a pedestal, but they follow him around to the rallies he turns up to with fucking chopping boards to remind him of the fact that he's been done for assaulting his partner with a fucking chopping board.
Yeah, look, I'm not sure that I go for that, because, I mean, basically, you have to understand that Avi Yemini is that man. Basically,
that is what he is.
I wouldn't go around sort of belittling what he put his partner through.
No, but I think giving him shit is very funny.
By satirising it that way. But really, Avi Yemini, I mean, if he ever forgets, I'll be there to remind him that he is 100%. A wife-beating piece of shit.
He is a complete scumbag. Of course, like, he's got the Krav Maga fucking gym and all that sort of stuff. So clearly he's fixated around violence. And this seems, I personally think that he's got massive issues surrounding his height. He's a little guy.
Yeah, he's only a short ass, yeah.
I think it's fuck with him through his time. And I have actually a lot of sympathy for short guys, as I've expressed in my Incels episode past. I know.
Well, no, look, I mean, the short
bleeding
guys,
heart.
I've got nothing against short guys either, but when you do have a bad case of small man syndrome, that's an entirely different matter.
Well, yeah, the beast gets out of the box, and then you know it becomes about the beast and not the box. But like, you know, when it's the Avi Yemini thing, he's just continually trying to prove something to, like, he's like maybe like his dad or like God. I don't know.
It's more just look at me stuff. It really is that sort of look at me narcissism. He turns up at rallies, you know, with T-shirts with the words "press."
I love that. I love that. He's like bought them on the internet.
Yeah,
like,
he's bought them on the, I mean, this is look. I am a journalist, Avi, and that's not accreditation. That's not going to get you. It's not going to get you anywhere. But there he does. He does turn up there and goes asking provocative questions designed to basically upset already angry people.
Yeah, basically. And the thing that's really funny with Avi is that people have called him out on the fact that he calls himself a journalist and makes a big point of having these giant press T-shirts and all that sort of bullshit. People say, Avi, you're not a journalist. And he comes back with the saltiest videos saying, I'm a fucking journalist. Look at this. I've got a website. Oh, look. Fuck you, man. It cuts him. It cuts him to the actual bone. And
he really hates
here's a message, Avi.
You're a pretend journalist.
You're not a journalist. Jack's a journo. You're not. Hey!
Basically, son, the other thing that really displeases me about him is that he used to knock around with Tommy Robinson, that awful piece of shit, drug addict, anti-Semite, vicious Nazi from England. Tommy's in the slammer at the moment, but so that might leave Avi with a bit of time on his hands. He's not basically lapping at his backside either. The other thing about Avi Yemini is he hasn't been allowed into Trump's America. He flew over there, caused a bit of mischief a couple of years ago, and was pulled up by US Customs, made to sit in a very small room for a couple of days before they put him on a plane and sent him home.
Good.
Which is, very funny. I just thought it was really funny. Avi, you're not allowed in Trump's America.
No, because you throw chopping blocks at women and you're not a journalist.
Yeah, look, it may well have had something to do with that conviction for the assault, and it may have been some of the other things that he was knocking around, but it wasn't made clear, and he certainly didn't make it clear, but he didn't get any further, I think, than LAX, or perhaps it was San Francisco, and, and was put back on a plane at his own expense and come back to Australia. I mean, you know, talk about our exports going
at his expense.
We can't even get rid of Avi Yemini.
Yeah, that's it. Well, the Chinese will put a fucking tariff on him. But like, essentially, Avi put up he put up a fundraiser for this, like a Supreme Court challenge to one of his arrests. He's going to say it's battery and false imprisonment and all sorts of, probably based on some SovCit bullshit. Probably get GMB lawyers to fucking, carry it out. But he got $50,000 out of a crowdfund.
No strings.
No strings. There's no, like, there was nothing that I can see, at least. I'm speculating here, but I can't see any reason why he can't just take that money and just keep it.
Buy himself a nice car, or and
maybe get a mate to represent him. He's never going to win the fucking case. It's going to be embarrassing as shit.
His legal bills, or he could do anything with it. He's not bound to actually commence an action against the Victoria Police Force.
No, and you know what? He fucking might not. So
now tell me,
let's see how that goes.
Every single person that we've been looking at is a straight out narcissist. I need to get ahead. I need to see my head in the telly. And here we got another one here. Victor Tay. Tell me a bit about
So Victor Tay is quite different from the other guys, because these other guys are sort of knockabout guys. Craig Cole, the Pitbull.
It's like a stick. It's stick with Victor Tay, isn't it? It's like a bit that he does.
Yeah, like he's a pastor in Liverpool at a church. Yeah. And apparently, like, he's a bit of a sort of like, anti-same-sex marriage type. So he dabbles in those sort of like shitty church politics. Yeah. But essentially, this is the guy that wore the headband that said Liberty with the shitty Nike swoosh on it that he wrote in permanent marker. And the whole thing is because when lockdown came in, you're allowed to exercise. I think it was like within 2 kilometers of your house.
Yeah.
So he was like, I'm just exercising my rights. Hey! And it's like this dumbass fucking pun. The guy's insufferable. He's just got this vibe that just says, I am an idiot, I am an asshole, and I am a coward. Because essentially, like, this is based on something that Tom Tanuki was saying, and I love his work on this because this guy just needs to be fucking ripped to shreds, and Tom knows all about him. Basically, when Renee Al-Takrady was being arrested and using her child as a fucking shield against the cops and spouting all sorts of SovCit nonsense, everyone was like, oh, where's Victor? Because he'd organised the rally, and he just, like, ran away because he was terrified of getting fucked with by the cops. I don't know if there's any issues with being a church pastor and getting a conviction or something like that, but he is dodging arrest.
I don't think so. I mean,
it's all fucking talk.
This guy's not the Pope. He's not the Archbishop. We are talking about one of your Pentecostal outfits.
Yes, yeah. And I mean, like, but the thing is that, like, this guy, he just sits there with the cops with this straight face saying, I'm just exercising, bro. And the cops are like, okay, show us your ID. And he's like, okay, why are you here? You live in the western suburbs. Why are you in Macquarie Street? I'm just exercising, bro. Why are you jogging here? I'm just exercising, bro. Stop lying with such a straight face.
It's like bad stand-up. I mean, quite
it is.
It's just bad comedy, and
it's bad sketch comedy.
But whenever push comes to shove, whenever the New South Wales police force reach for the handcuffs or God forbid the taser,
he's out.
He just shits himself.
Yep, that's it, because that's the kind of guy he is. He is a coward and a fucking asshole.
But look, at least when we look at these guys, they are amusing. Compared to the heavily armed American counterparts.
Yeah,
our boys are basically just out of control narcissists.
Yeah, and they're adorable for the most part. And then you've got like the American ones where they take AR-15s to open carry rallies. They've got well-organized militias with all that sort of Second Amendment bullshit. It's a quite a stark difference. And a lot of the guys who run those sort of rallies, whether it be like Alex Jones, the Turning Point USA guy, Charlie Kirk, lots of these libertarian guys, a lot of these sort of Republican slightly sort of wingnut types have been at this for a decade.
Yeah.
These guys are established. They've got these organizations.
Look, the militia movements have been around for the best part of 30 years, and they certainly have grown, but the idea of establishing militia has been basically with America since the revolution, or before the revolution, and now it's taken a sort of deeper, uglier turn. This is when the federal government started. They refused to pay federal taxes, basically.
Yeah, there's the Bundys who did that. The SovCits.
Don't tell us what to do, and don't step on us, and all.
Don't tread on me. Yeah.
So that's the Americans. But in Australia, I mean, basically we've had some very, very funny people. A personal favourite of mine was Eve Black, the stripper and topless waitress.
Yeah.
Isn't that a wonderful thing to have in your resume? It was filmed sort of self-congratulating. She'd done a runner on a Victoria Police roadblock.
That was insufferable.
And I remember seeing this, and it was broadcast everywhere, not just on her Facebook page. And I remember thinking, "Oh, darling, I don't know if you've done the right thing there." I mean, she sort of fooled herself into thinking Vic Pole is all kindness and hugs and on your way, ma'am. You can just go. And I just remember thinking, I'll give it about 48 hours, and that's when there's going to be a violent arrest. And I think it took maybe 72 in the end.
Yeah,
but when
something
it happened,
like that.
When it happened exactly. Do not mock Vic Pole. I mean, they have really, really poor sense of humour when they are mocked. They do not laugh at themselves. Trust me on this.
No sense of humour. And her window was smashed. And nature sort of was restored.
She thought she could, the first bloke she met at the road stop that did let her go. I mean, I think he might still be in counselling at Victoria Police Headquarters because, come on, son, you might have gone a little bit harder there. Basically. And then the next copper she met was going to be, like the 45-year-old sergeant.
Yes.
who hates just about everything.
Yes, hates comedy.
Especially young people.
Yes, exactly. I mean, like, it's funny because when you look up the SovCits like she did with the video in the car, if you look up SovCit's getting owned on YouTube, and there's a lot of American ones, there's some good Australian ones in there as well.
Fantastic clips there. And
people in the car just trying it on.
I recommend, if you need a good laugh, go and have a look at some sovereign citizen videos. I do not consent. Consent.
Not relevant, champion. And the thing is the cops are getting better at it. So I saw this one was really brutal. This guy said, I don't consent. I don't need to do anything. So the cop just goes, okay, I'm gonna make you submit to a breath test. The guy's clearly sober. I'm gonna make you submit to a breath test. I don't consent. Okay, cool. Is that you saying you're not gonna do the breath test? Cool.
You refuse the breathalyzer, yeah.
Then I'm gonna give you a drug test. Okay, you don't consent? All right, cool, done, no problem. Here's your court summons. Fuck you.
She's racking up charges, yeah.
I mean, that's about $10,000 in freedom tickets right there.
Well, absolutely right. I mean, basically, the police, law enforcement in the United States had to be retrained. To basically deal with the threat of SovCits. I mean, like Eve Black, they thought, this will be really funny.
Yeah.
And this will be really funny to mock the Victoria Police Force because, they're renowned for their sense of humour.
100%. And
so she got, there've been some others. Renee,
Altacrity, I think it is.
Renee Altacrity, yes, sorry about that.
Yeah.
She said before she used one of her children or a child as a shield against the police.
It's charming. The Magna Carta sign was really good because it clearly showed, and this is another thing that I saw with Tom's videos where she was going on and on about how Wayne Glue got her off the charge, which is not true at all. She got basically given a court summons and the cops just moved on because she's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But she had this sign that said something along the lines of like, if you don't have freedom, you've got something Magna Carta. Like, it was just like really child's play shit because she's been watching Wayne Glue on fucking YouTube. She says it so proudly. She loves that Wayne Glue like really hooked her up with this amazing like inside info on how to get away from the cops. But realistically, what she did was get the camera rolling, fuck with the cops, and then push her child in between her and the police.
If anyone's going to get tased, it's going to be a kid first.
And that's the thing. Like, it's just so bad. And like, I know people, like good friends of mine were sharing the video saying this is an outrage. And I'm there just going, you're getting played. Like, you guys say sheep.
Oh, yeah. There was a lot of that. There was a lot of that reporting, particularly around the arrest of Zoe Bueller.
Oh, God.
I mean,
my heart fucking bleeds in the pajamas.
What mainstream media was like, they're averse to having a look at her Facebook page, which was really weird.
Yeah, like she was venomous.
Yeah.
She's not a nice person. This whole sort of like, but like I had no idea I was inciting people. Like, bullshit. You were fully aware of it. And look, using pregnancy as some sort of like legal shield.
But this is the same thing. Panayides is another one. As soon as they are met with consequence, they just go to water.
Oh, totally. I mean, totally. And like, I do feel for the fact that Zoe was, like she sort of got slightly ambushed in the morning. She was in her jammings. It was, and she is pregnant. But the thing is, they came in and they were basically just like, oh, sorry, mate, we have to arrest you. And she was like, no, but just don't arrest me. And they were like, well, no, like it's kind of too late for that now.
Cool.
Like,
but she basically organised a rally in
the height of the fucking plague.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, it's ridiculous.
What do they expect? I mean, what do they expect? They must expect some form of enforcement.
They were warned.
Yeah.
They were so very thoroughly warned. So I don't play into the whole playing dumb thing. As soon as the cops
walked into her home, she's saying, look, I'll take it down. I'll take it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a bit late for that.
Yeah.
You were warned. You were told not to do this. And then you went ahead and did it anyway. And what do you expect? Actions have consequences in the middle of a pandemic, especially.
That's it. I think there are certain, like, sort of social classes, certain ethnicities that do feel like police are never going to knock on their door. And then when they do, they sort of sit there and go, oh, can I help you? Like, I'm sorry, but you really are doing it. And look, I think we're all guilty of this. We think we're a little bit invincible if we're in the middle class and we're a little bit wide of center. But, mate, I mean, she really stepped it up a notch to just be like, I broke the law. Why are you here?
Yeah. I mean, look, being pregnant affords you certain benefits and privileges possibly, but it's not going it's not going to get you off a charge.
No, no matter what Wayne Glue tells you, being pregnant does not make you immune from legal consequences, for fuck's sake.
One of the funniest ones, I think, and just in terms of certainly underestimating Victoria Police Force, was James Bartolo.
Yes. Oh, my God, he's so funny.
James is he's got a bit of a SovCit mentality, doesn't he?
Big time.
Brandishing all sorts of laws. And
he had the no trespassing sign on his door. Sorry. That's like that magical,
you may not enter. I am a free man, and
I'm immune from warrants because they don't apply to me because I have this sign that I printed off the internet. Fuck off.
Yeah, don't arrest me, or I'll sit down and read Magna Carta to you.
That's it, and you will be upset.
Yeah. And that lasted about. I'm going to say about 12 seconds before the Wallopers basically forcibly entered into his premises and arrested him.
They sent the no bullshit squad for that one because they really did come up.
What's the charge? Incitement.
Like what is the question? You already even know that. Like the great thing is that he was there completely not thinking. Unless he's a very good actor, it genuinely comes off in the video that he's not expecting them to battering ram the door down. Like his no trespassing sign's actually like this invisible force shield.
And he did that. He had the force shield going, but he also left some contraband. I mean, look, you're hot. You could be a little bit tropical. And he's left some contraband lying around the place. A couple of samurai swords, I think.
I mean, look, I feel for him in this one because, like, as he said, it's like Aragorn from Lord of the Rings or some shit. I don't know. I don't really follow it. But, like, basically, the guy just had something he bought off the internet. It's like it's a commemorative sort of thing.
The cops are fantastic at this. A friend of mine got charged with possession, basically, of a bong. And the bong had it was the end of a fire hose. So they charged him with receiving stolen goods as well.
Jesus. See, that's the thing. They'll find something.
And if they go through your house, right, they're going to find. They go through anyone's house. They're going to find contraband. They're going to find something that's not strictly kosher. And it doesn't mean the charge necessarily has to get up at the magistrate's court. It just means here's a long list of things you're going to have to deal with. You better get yourself a lawyer.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing with this is like, there's this, like mentality of like, oh, I've got this force field. Fuck these guys, blah, blah, blah. But let's face it, when it comes to cops like this, what you say in that interaction at first is the level of motivation they have to pin you up on this shit. And what he did is he basically said to them in sovereign citizen speak, please make my rap sheet as long as humanly fucking possible.
But hang on, please violently arrest me and then give me a hamburger with a lot, which is Victoria Police Force speak for. We're going to charge you with pretty much everything we can think of.
Exactly, which includes a fucking nerd sword, which he had to admit on TV that he owned.
So look, they all got together. All these people have been amusing us for the last, keep me sane, really, in many ways. But they get together for their little Freedom Day rallies. And tell us just how completely shit they are.
Well, it's just that thing of like, you've got these Freedom Day rallies, and one of the things that the left have been doing, and I personally think it's a little bit attention grabby, it's a bit Instagrammy, that all these kids have these like, cute signs with these great little slogans and stuff like that, often lots of Simpsons characters.
Wow.
But the thing is,
it shows a bit of creativity, a bit of talent.
It does.
Yeah.
Exactly. And like these themes that lefty protests are usually like, kids behind barbed wire and Nauru, fucking, being poked and prodded by Peter Dutton's fucking Gestapo. Like, it's got these awful vibes, but then you have these like Simpsons against, jailing children, and it's kind of funny.
But Freedom Day rallies. Nothing.
They're so shit.
Nothing going
so
on.
Shit.
Not anything really. Nothing clever about their signs.
And the humour's snarky. It's just like, oh, you're a fucking sleep.
These
chemtrails are a thing.
These are not the sharpest tools in our sheds, in the nature sheds, but they're also, I noticed, very poorly dressed. That was the thing. There was not a lot of sartorial splendour amongst the ones who were assembling in Melbourne.
They'd make a very bad centerfold spread, I tell you what. That being said, the influences are pretty hot. Fanos has got a pretty nice thing going on. Bartolo's a bodybuilder. Eve Black's pretty cute. Renee Altacrity, she's pretty cute.
Yeah.
But then when you get away from the glossy YouTube veneer. You get the real ones.
And you get down to the shrine on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
Have a good look at them. Oh, crikey, there's a lot of ugly people. Like there are people have just been as if someone's just weighted in with the ugly stick and just kept beating until they basically had to stop until the thing broke.
Until the Magna Carta intervened.
Yeah, so really an horrendous group of people who seemed to wander around aimlessly as well. There didn't seem to be any plan, and it was like, oh, let's go to Albert Park. We'll go to Albert Park. And then they went to Albert Park and sort of walked towards the sea with the Victoria Police Force on the shore. I mean, this is one of the worst escape attempts ever planned, surely.
Were they going through like a Harold Holt or something? Like, I mean, fucking hell.
Surely they can't swim. Surely they don't have boats or anything. I mean, yeah.
I mean, like, one of the things I find with these guys is that they're so stunned by the idea of violence at protests being incited by cops. Like, lefties are so across this brief. Since the fucking the dawn of time, lefties have gone to protest, cops have baited them, and then there's been this massive fight, and a few unwashed kids have gone to jail, usually their QC dad to get them off the charge, and order is restored. But I was listening to Fanos saying that when he got arrested, it was his first rally, and he was so astounded by how the cops are being inflammatory. And that's the thing with these guys. Like, these are the guys who will sit at home and snigger at the shithead art students who are getting pepper sprayed because they're fuck bitches. But now it's their cause. The fact that they go out and all of a sudden the cops start, giving them a bit of shit on the corners and tapping on the ankle with their little batons, and they're like, "What's this shit?"
Mate. Every now and then, I mean, this is just the way police will act with crowds. Generally speaking, is that they'll just go, "You're a troublemaker," and they're pretty good. They've got pretty good trained eyes, and they just go, "You're a troublemaker," and they'll just go in. There'll be three of them, just go bang, and they'll sit that bloke on his ass, and they can just say, "Right, we'll take you away." And you can wander off. But if you want to continue to give a shit, we'll charge you with stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly the MO. And I was listening to these UK anti-lockdowner guys, this weird podcast where he just went and interviewed these sort of people. And there was this guy who basically went there's these people getting arrested, blah, 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 what's going on, that sort of stuff. And they got arrested for no reason. And in my head, I'm thinking either they got arrested for a very good reason, or they've got a shitload of form and the cops just went, I know who you are. I've seen you on YouTube. You are going to, you're going to lock up for 12 hours.
I have to wonder, Joe, are these places good pickup joints for neo-Nazis, do you reckon?
I think so. I definitely think so. Absolutely. I mean, the way in which these signs, these humorless fucking signs, are Q adjacent, they've got all the stuff about adrenochrome, the cabal, the globalists. I mean, adrenochrome is blood libel, the globalists are the Jews, the cabal are the Jews.
It's a smorgasbord. It's a smorgasbord of the extreme right.
It all points back to the same place, doesn't it?
Mm. Yeah.
I mean, I think there's going to be an uptick in Nazi activity as a result of all these rallies and all this kind of Q stammering. I reckon behind the scenes, there's been a lot of friendships made. They're going to start having that thing of hey man, have you heard about? Hey man, have you heard about? And it's just going to go further and further down the rabbit hole until it's
I'd argue that that's been going for a long time now. And
I just feel like it's bigger.
I suspect, and I certainly hope, that we're starting to see a drop-off. What happened in Greece was spectacular.
Yeah, they cleared house, didn't they?
The Austrian far rights dropped off. French far rights dropped off. They continue to be a problem. Don't get me wrong, but I would say, in terms of Australia's recruitment, it would be either steady as it's been or perhaps decline some way.
Well, I mean, I'd say so. The thing is, they're tapping into new audiences. You've got this weird thing with the wellness crossover with QAnon, sovereign citizens, the yummy mummy groups who are sharing all this crazy pastel Q shit, which is child trafficking, adrenochrome, and it all comes back to the Jews. And at the end of the day, you've got all these people who are spending all this time on the internet, probably trying to get away from their children they love so much. And then they start thinking, hold on a second, the biggest threat to this beautiful child I love so much, the Jews. And then you get Nazis. You get fucking Nazis. I mean, women are not immune from joining the ranks. And we're going to see a lot more 88 tattoos, I think.
Well, that's something perhaps not to look forward to.
No.
Look, where do we go? Where do we go from here? I mean, basically, the fines, etc., that have been doled out to people. I mean, the lockdowns are over.
More or less.
The special circumstances under which these laws have been created have now been passed over.
Yep.
Where do these people go from here? Where do the pandemic folk go from here?
Well, like they've established certain things. They've got the anti-vax sort of vein, which has the big Bill Gates bogeyman thing next to it, which is cool. They've got that going for them.
Yeah.
They've got the 5G thing, which is tricky because the whole Trump thing, but now Trump's gone.
Yeah.
But that is so funny.
That is hugely funny. I mean, they were all set for major cult status, and the Trumps just popped up and said, "Look, 5G, it sounds pretty good. Let's do that." With a couple of his mates in the telco business, and that's right. He's going to hand down He's going to cleanse the 5G, isn't he?
432 hertz or some shit. It's fucking stupid. But
the great thing, but that's so it's left the 5G people with nowhere else to go, but a bit of a dabble at QAnon or.
I reckon they can still hold their own.
The anti-vax movement's looking pretty good. That sort of
the anti-vax movement is looking very good. I mean, the QAnon thing is dying because the same with the MAGA cult. Like Trump's gone, Q's quiet. I mean,
that's sort of
Q is a great
what I'm talking about in terms of we really did burn the candle, the right-wing candle or the extreme right-wing candle, very, very brightly over the last 10 years in Europe and the United States.
Yeah.
Look, it's worth remembering that 70 years ago, nearly 80 years ago, the world was at war with these people. The world was at war with this ideology, and we won.
Yeah, and that is the ridiculous idea of these people going to these sort of Nazi groups, but these people don't follow any kind of logic like that. I mean, like one of the things you've got, and I think should be emphasized quite strongly here, is that the lockdowns have worked, and these people still exist.
Right.
So we've had this situation where the lockdowns happened. They made up all this bullshit about all these suicides that never happened, all these things. They have all these anecdotal stories of all these people, having this miserable sort of thing, blah, blah, blah. They've got a million of them. There's always some auntie they fucking know. But at the same time, the lockdowns worked. And at no point have I heard anyone from the anti-lockdown movement, whether it be on Facebook or in any kind of media fashion, saying, you know what? Maybe we did get it wrong. And maybe lockdown did work.
But if you start from the premise that it's all faked.
I mean, then I guess
you're not far away from that conspiracy theory.
That's it.
Where political leaders are able to turn it on and turn it off.
So they've got to go somewhere because, that's the thing. If they were to come out and say lockdowns worked, we got it wrong.
That's the logical thing for me in Australia. Into that sort of anti-vaxxer. Dung heap, and that's for starters. And SovCits as well. You would think, a lot of these people, they're too pathetic to be problems for law enforcement, but there are a few among them who will be, pains in the asses of our police forces for a long time.
Well, they're going to drive around with unregistered cars. Of course, those unregistered cars are automatically detected by license plate recognition, and they're going to get pulled over. And one of them eventually is going to have a fucking gun.
Well, yeah, look,
we're not done with them yet.
Yeah, look, you can't understate it. I absolutely agree with you there, but you would think more often you're going to find that the police forces are going to be they're trained with weapons use. They're trained with all sorts of things. I mean, yes, it's a huge problem in the United States. The issue, I don't think we've crossed that crazy border yet.
Well, yeah, I think we're going to get there because, as I say, they're going to start going further and further down certain rabbit holes. So certain people will go hardcore anti-vax. I think majority of them are going to go hardcore anti-vax. I think some of them are going to go into that sort of traditional conspiracy tinfoil hat thing with the 5G and the whole general sort of New World Order. Some of them are going to go into the Great Reset, but economics is way too complex for most of these people. And then we're going to have the Nazis who fuck off to that side.
Well, just the very idea. I mean, we're going to find out how many of these people there are because when we do roll out a vaccine sometime next year in Australia, you're going to see the people. Look, there's probably a group of people who are not who need to be convinced. and they're not. I wouldn't call them anti-vaxxers. Then there are the sort of the dogmatists.
They're hesitant.
They won't. Those minds won't be changed. So we're about to see how many people there are there, and whether that actually challenges the prospect of herd immunity.
Herd immunity, yeah. I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case to an extent. I think these guys, especially when we covered in the previous episode with the electoral
there'll be so much
result.
that they can't do. That's the first thing. Qantas has said they won't be able to fly, but they'll be sooner or later. I mean, the legal requirements of the entertainment industry, hotels, etc., they're going to require people to show vaccination certificates.
And you've had to get vaccines for yellow fever to go to South America for fucking years. This is not new.
It'll all be handled. Look, it is pretty intrusive, but it'll all be handled relatively well through technology. But the simple fact is that if you won't be able to go to a pub, and then maybe you won't be able to go to a supermarket.
I mean, look, who knows?
Yeah, these are things that we're going to have to deal with, because you simply cannot have a group of people who say, fuck you, we're not going to do this.
Yeah, and we're going to have to pander to this group with legislation, with all sorts of things, because at the end of the day, I think that when it comes between the draconian regulation of making these people not go to the supermarket because they don't have the vaccine passport, or allowing them to go and just accepting that these dickheads are going to be dickheads, I reckon it's the latter. I reckon that, I think our government is, at the end of the day, when it comes to the constituents and not refugees, quite benevolent.
There'd be sympathisers, and there are. I mean, there are sympathisers in the Parliament, Hanson talk, but there'd be sympathisers in the National Party and some elements of the Liberal Party.
I don't think it's going to become draconian and crazy. And if it does, I might even take issue with a few of them. Because as much as I fucking hate these guys, I do, to an extent, respect the choice. But if you take that choice, I think some of your freedom is getting taken away on a practical basis, not a punitive basis, on a purely pragmatic epidemiological basis. I'm cool with it.
Yeah, fine.
Fuck them. But hopefully they go anti-vax, because, to be honest, I'd rather they do that than turn into Nazis. I honestly think they're going to turn into fucking Nazis. I really do. I mean, like, the anti-Semitism with these guys is so strong already.
There's a fork in the road, and look, as Robert Plant once told us, there are two paths you can go by, but in the long run, there's always time to change the road you're on.
Yeah, well, anti-vax one day, neo-Nazi the next. Let's mix it up a little bit. Why stay so stale?
Well, that just wraps up our deeper dive now, and we'll move on to this. And I know this is a segment that people love to listen to, because it gets to the heart of power, not just in the United States, but across the world. The great family, the Trump family, and my very favourite Trump, Eric, who's like a bastard on Father's Day.
He's like a bastard on Father's Day. He's a bit of a bastard. On Father's Day, yeah.
Look, Eric's been slack this week. He's done fuck all. He's a very good-looking boy, but he barely got on the toots. But one did catch my eye. It was just a like of the old man's toots. And, of course, Eric would be always wanting to curry favour with the old man. And this is one of the old man's tweets describing the latest insane legal challenge starting from Texas, and now with the backing of 17 other Republican states and now 160 Republican congresspeople. This is the big one, the Trumpster roared on Twitter as this nonsense prepares to be discarded by the Supreme Court, and will be by about Wednesday. But Eric liked it. He likes the idea of annulling millions of votes. He thinks it's a tremendous reform of democracy that you can have a vote, but if you don't like the way it turns out, you can still pick the winner. He calls it sort of a streamlining of democracy. And the ball got rolling when Attorney General in Texas, or Texas Attorney General Kenny Paxton, knocked a few writs together. Ken Paxton is currently under indictment for securities fraud, and also had a mass walkout from his office just earlier this week. But Eric is a very good-looking boy, likes the cut of Kenny Paxton's jib, and he does understand, too, that this is the last shot in the locker for Eric before the Valus arrive and strip him of his nice suits and knock his teeth back to their pre-orthodontian days. And why wouldn't you like it? The choices are pretty simple. Ignore votes in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona. Not the down-ballot ones, by the way, which are fine.
Oh, yeah.
Just the top of the ballot is where all the skullduggery occurred. But it's either that or Eric is not going to be a good-looking boy anymore. Poor Eric. He's like a bastard on Father's Day.
He truly, truly is.
And we got to stop talking about Eric, even though he's a very good-looking boy, because we are now into this. This is perhaps, it's considered by our critics and our reviewers as the most important segment of our show. It's the Week in Pete Evans. We always know it's a huge week.
The Week in Pete Evans!
And Joel, just let me know, how big has it been this week for Pete?
It has been a very big week in Pete Evans, but it always is a very big week in Pete Evans because at the time of recording, we are 3 weeks since Pete said he had deleted his Facebook account. November 21st, mate. It seems like only fucking yesterday. I would love to tell you how many times he's posted since then, but I was never good at maths. I can't count that far.
But Peter's been absolutely on fire recently with ridiculous and baseless claims of electoral fraud and a shitload of anti-vax nonsense. I mean, we always knew Pete as a bullshit peddler, but he's really cracked it up a notch. He's deleting negative comments as quickly as they appear, making it seem that he may very well have hired someone to block people from his page. It's amazing what an echo chamber can do for your confidence.
He fucking loves it. God, they fawn over him. I wonder how that works. See, Pete's been pushing the anti-vax line very hard at the moment. He posted on his Facebook some world vaccine polls. Now, it's like one of those fucking memes where it's got a bunch of shit with no fucking source. So there's no source to the numbers. There's no link to the methodology.
No methodology. Well, there is no methodology, basically. It's a click of the mouse.
100%, because these, as it turns out, because the right can't meme for shit and he'll share anything without looking at it whatsoever, they actually left the little Parler scene icon and like the Parler fonts on there. So it's just a bunch of polls from Parler. Yeah. Oh my God. Anti-vaxxers on Parler. What next? Fucking people breathing? I mean, like, fucking thanks, Pete. Water is wet. Up is up. I mean...
Peter's also shown that he's not an anti-vaxxer by having a second interview with smug grifter and piece of legitimate human trash, Andrew Wakefield. Yeah, not anti-vax. Just asking questions. Thank you, Pete.
Yeah.
He's convinced of the vaccine. Not sure which one, mind you, as there are several, is going to change your DNA. This is based, I assume, on a chip packet science that doesn't exist. And while DNA can indeed be changed, the reasoning behind his claim that the vaccine will cause this is, as usual, baseless and fucking stupid.
Yeah, this doesn't stop our fucking Pete because, of course, the US election is a fraud. Vaccines turn you into goats. Coronavirus is a hoax, and Bill Gates is behind the whole fucking thing. Because while Pete has really ramped up the post count this week, it's all just business as usual for this horrible culinary fuck. I mean, I have my fingers and toes crossed that Zuckerberg was going to get round to deleting him this week. Like, there's a massive campaign of reporting the guy, but we have to wait a little bit longer.
Another few more weeks.
Fucking bullshit, because this asshole is getting away with fucking nonsense. He's starting, and I say the word starting, to kind of piss me off. But until then, 1.5 billion people are going to be served this right-wing lunatic anti-vax bullshit on a semi-regular basis.
Yeah,
fuck it over.
And that is a very, very big week in Pete Evans. And we expect the next week to be even larger. That's the way it is for Pete Evans. He just goes on and on and on and on and on without fucking stop. And you have been listening to the Conditional Release Program with your host, Jack the Insider and Joel Hill. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, and if you've enjoyed our bullshit, throw us a 5-star review on your podcast app.
I want to give another quick thanks. You already got one of the first one, but Tom Taniki and Cam Smith were invaluable this episode, doing so much primary research on anti-lockdown lunatics, which I quite shamelessly stole in this episode because they've waded through the mangroves so we don't have to. But to be fair, I also did listen to a lot of fucking interviews this week and goddamn they sucked. But they picked out some really good parts of some fucking long and boring videos so we could deliver you warm shit to your time-strapped ears. As usual, Jack can be found on Twitter on @JackTheInsider and Joel on @CrunchyMoses with a K. And we have a Facebook page which you can still find fairly easily.
And finally, all feedback, tips and death threats should be sent to the conditional release program @gmail.com. We would love to hear from you, even if it's simply to give us a list of bullshit reasons why Bill Gates should be arrested and that lockdowns don't work.
No, of course they don't. I mean, look at us. We're something.
I need to lock myself down. I'll see you later, listeners.
See you guys. Take care. Till next week.
Catch you next week.